First of all, I would like to congratulate Malla Reddy College of Engineering, Hyderabad for organizing this faculty development program. In this session, I am going to deal with research and publication ethics. Before I begin, I express my gratitude to the principal of the organizing institution, Dr. Ashok sir, Head Department of Humanities and Sciences, Dr. Sneha Joshi ma'am. Similarly, I express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Anuradha, Dr. Padmaja, and other faculty members of this institution. Friends, the topic assigned to me is going to be the major concern of the day for this deliberation. Because I am going to talk on two important areas. One, what is research, and the other, what is publication. But finally, my main focus will be on to talk on what are the research ethics, and at the same time, what are the publication ethics that we are supposed to adhere in our professional life. So friends, for another 1.5 hours or so, we'll discuss on what are research and publication ethics. Of course, each one of is familiar with this term, what is research. But just for an introduction for this presentation today, I would like to discuss a couple of definitions in this respect and then proceed further with the core of the talk today. Whenever we look at this term research, we usually think in a very practical point of view, very pragmatic point of view, that research is nothing but a systematic investigation for pertinent information on a specific topic. Whether you are doing your PhD level research or else you have undertaken any research project, or else you are doing your research for developing some research paper, whatever it may be. But unless you are doing your systematic investigation for the pertinent information on the specific topic, I think we will not be able to give justice to the research itself. As a matter of fact, research is a kind of careful inquiry, specifically through search for facts. And it can be in any branch of knowledge, it can be in any branch of study. As most of you are presently teaching in engineering colleges, professional colleges, or some of you may be in the traditional colleges where the arts, science and commerce courses are being offered. Being a researcher or being a research scholar, you should have a careful inquiry specifically done through your entire system for finding certain facts. It's not important like in which branch you are going to study, you are going to do your research. The most significant fact is how far you are committed to your own research and doing your research based on certain facts. Because research is an academic contribution to the existing stock of knowledge, whichever stock of knowledge that you are dealing to. And you want to make some sort of advancement in the existing stock. So it means you are going to provide something extraordinary from your end, something new from your end, something creative from your end in this particular domain. So usually we call it, research is nothing but a kind of pursuit of truth with the help of study, observation, experiments, and then we come to certain conclusions. So my point is, unless you are doing your systematic investigation, unless you are dealing with certain facts, unless you are not going to contribute to the existing stock of knowledge, your research will not be of any use either to the society or to the domain. So here, it is important for an individual, whether you are a faculty member or a researcher or whatsoever, you have to have a practical and a pragmatic scientific approach towards research. Now let us switch over to the another word in my topic of the presentation today, that is publication. Of course, each one of you is familiar with this. There is nothing new from my end for this particular point. But whenever we say or whenever we discuss what is publication, generally an idea comes to our mind. Because publication is nothing but the kind of preparation and issuing of a book or a journal or a kind of piece of writing for public sale. Whether you provide it free of cost or else you sell it, it is depending on an individual. But publication itself is a kind of action of making something which is generally known in the form of an article or a pamphlet or a book or a journal, so on and so on. Because you have already undertaken your research, you want to put it on a piece of paper in the form of writing, and of course, every contributor, every researcher, every scholar wants to make it public, let the whole world know what exactly you have done, right? So, publication is a platform that is provided to a researcher, to a scholar, okay, in order to present his own research and let the whole world know about it. Because you submit your manuscript, it goes through a proper review process and then it gets published. But in the entire process of doing research and publishing research, there are certain ways that you need to really look at and follow this. Because whenever you undertake any kind of research, you need to categorize it based on the various types of research as such. You have different types of research. Some are applicable to the engineering field, some are applicable to the pharmacy field, some are applicable to the non-professional courses, okay, traditional courses I need to say. Some are applicable to science and technology, some are applicable to humanities department, some are applicable to the social studies and all. But just to provide some idea of the types of research, here I would like to discuss a few. You have theoretical research, exploratory research, descriptive research, explanatory research, qualitative research, quantitative research, experimental research, and as a whole, you have scientific research as well. So, as I was talking about the types of research, and here you have different types of research that you execute in your professional life. You have theoretical research, explanatory research, descriptive research, explanatory research, qualitative and quantitative research. Similarly, you have experimental and scientific research. Before we proceed with the publication and research ethics, let us try to understand What do you mean by all these types of research and how to execute it in our professional life? As far as theoretical research is concerned, this type of research usually explains the existing experimental results, and it makes an attempt to predict new results, while an experiment is usually expected to check the validity of existing theories and to gather data for modifying them. See here, if at all you undertake some theoretical research and your sample for data collection varies, automatically your conclusions vary. If at all you are doing some experiment and your inputs varied, automatically your results will also vary. Here you have the another type of research also, which is called exploratory research. Actually, exploratory research is a kind of research approach that explores the research questions which have not previously been studied in depth. A sort of exploration you are doing from your end. It is often used when the issue taken up for study is totally new, or else the data collection process is challenging in some ways. But in this respect, you introduce something new from your end, being a researcher. And that's why it is called exploratory research. Then you have the descriptive kind of research. The descriptive kind of research actually aims to accurately and systematically describe a population or a situation or a phenomenon. Because fundamentally the title itself is quite apt and suggestive, and it is descriptive. So you continue to describe either the population or else the situation or else a kind of phenomenon that you have taken up for your study. Then you have explanatory research. The title itself is very suggestive. When it comes to the qualitative research, it is actually defined as a kind of research method that focuses on obtaining data through open-ended questions or else through a kind of one-to-one conversation or communication. What happens in this kind of research method, the data that you collect is based not on the closed-ended questions. The closed-ended questions will have multiple options that you yourself decide as a researcher, and you compel the respondent to answer based on the options provided. But in this qualitative research, what happens? You don't provide any kind of option, you just put forth a question, a research question, right in front of your respondent. And the respondent is supposed to think about it and provide you the details. And that's why this kind of data collection is considered to be the qualitative data that you collect for the purpose of research. And generally you also collect some data through the conversation with the respondent. Then you have the quantitative kind of research. Quantitative research actually deals with numbers, logic, or an objective stance is being taken by the researcher when you execute quantitative kind of research. Actually, quantitative research mainly focuses on the numeric and the unchanging data. Mind it well. The kind of data that you collect for the qualitative research and the kind of data that you collect for the quantitative research, there is a big difference. Because here you get the unchanging data and the kind of details which are provided over there from your side as a researcher in order to seek information from the researchers, from the respondents. So the details that you collect from the respondent, it may be, either the convergent data or it may be the divergent data. Whatever it may be, But this kind of information that you collect from the respondent is going to provide you a proper base, a factual base in order to execute your research. Then you have another type of research called experimental research. And most of you, those who are into science and technology, we do believe in this kind of research mainly. Because experimental research is a kind of research because we conduct this kind of research with a scientific approach. See, doing research on society, on population, on a country, or exploring something, that generally comes under the social sciences. But now we are talking about the scientific, the real scientific approach. And you use two sets of variables in order to prove your point, in order to prove your objectives. And then you have the scientific research also. The scientific research is conducted for the purpose of contributing towards the field of science. And then you collect your systematic data through your process of collection. You interpret the data, you analyze the data, you make your own evaluation of the data based on the scientific parameters, and finally come with a conclusion, and then you try to prove from your side something which is scientific. So these are the different types of research that we execute either as a research scholar or else as a professional. Now let us move towards the third word that I used in my title for the day, that is research and publication ethics. So I spoke about what is research, then I spoke about what is publication. Now I am switching over to the third term, that is what do you mean by ethics. As far as ethics is the branch of knowledge that deals with moral principles. But mind it well, moral principles or the values, the human values that you develop, they vary country to country. Sometimes they vary place to place. But it's very difficult for all of us how to come to a conclusion then. How to come to a conclusion that whatever which is ethical for me, not essential that it will be equally ethical on the other part of the world. Right? So here, you need to understand one thing, that moral principles that govern a person's behavior or his or her conduct of an activity. See, what does your conscience say? How do you evaluate the situations around? How to assess yourself? What is good and what is bad? I do remember a poet who said, old order changeth, yielding place to new. Means something which was applicable, which was socially approved in the medieval period, not essential that it will have the equal value and acceptance in the modern time or else in the 21st century. It means the values, the moral values and the morality, the concept of morality, the concept of ethic, it keeps changing time to time. Right? But still here we will try to understand what are the research ethics and publication ethics which are worldwide acceptable now, and we are supposed to adhere and follow the same in our personal and professional life. As a matter of fact, ethics or moral principles is actually a branch of philosophy. See, philosophy itself is an abstract realm, is an abstract realm of study. Still we are talking about ethics or moral principles is a branch of philosophy that actually involves systematizing, defending and recommending concepts of what is wrong and what is wrong and what is right behavior. So this branch of philosophy actually tells you to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Okay. And I think we are also judgmental in our life to decide what is right and what is wrong. Similarly, ethics also refer to the rules provided by an external source. Mind it well. My judgment or my judgmental value of saying something right and something wrong depends on so many internal and external sources. I have my own personal logic, conjecture, point of view towards everything. Similarly, there are several external sources which influence my ideology. It may be the religious principles, it may be the family values, it may be the social values, it may be the community values that I belong to, or it may be the workplace where I work, and the workplace will have its own values which are imposed upon me. So here you can say the ethics refer to the rules provided by an external source. So external source may be the code of conduct issued by the workplace, the code of conduct suggested by the religion, the code of conduct of your own family which are set by the head of the family itself. It can be anything. But here when we talk about ethics, this ethics is actually the branch of philosophy, as I said earlier, that addresses the questions about justice and morality. See here, you need to understand this point. When you say something is ethical or something is unethical, it means you are judgmental about it, right? And in the case of justice, in the case of morality, there are some proverbs also. If at all you talk about the floor of the court, and if at all the justice is delayed, it means justice is denied. So likewise, you might have heard so many things about. But here, when you come to your own conclusions to decide what is right and what is wrong, so you are judgmental because of so many external forces which are compelling you to think on that line. So the field of ethics along with aesthetics concerns the matters of value. So mind it well, value in my country for one particular thing or one particular phenomenon may have a different value on the other part of the world. But it's not happening in the case of research and publication. The entire world has come to a common conclusion that what are the publication ethics, what are the research ethics that everybody, each one of us is supposed to follow. Let us try to understand now, one after the other. First, I will talk about research ethics, then I will talk about publication ethics, and then I will come to a conclusion. What are we supposed to do either as a researcher or a research scholar or else as a professional working in the field of research and teaching? As far as research ethics are concerned, research ethics involve the application of fundamental ethical principles to research activities. Mind it well. We undertake some or the other research, right? It may be in social sciences, it may be in languages, it may be in the different subjects of humanities, it may be in science and technology, it can be in engineering, it can be in pharmacy, whatever it may be. Because you cannot confine research to one particular area of study, right? Fundamentally, research ethics involve the kind of application of fundamental principles, ethical principles, mind you. That tells you, that lets you know what is right and what is wrong. And we are supposed to adhere all these principles, ethical principles, in our personal research activity. Whether you are doing some sort of research for developing your research paper, or else you are going to write some research report for your project, or else you are going to submit your thesis for PhD, whatever it may be. So this research ethic actually include the design and implementation of research, and you should always respect with all these ethical values towards society and others. Because copying some other's design and claiming that it is mine is unethical. Right? So on these lines, you need to think of that if something which is creative that I did belongs to me, something which is innovative that I did, of course, belong to me. So if it belongs to me, it means I am going to be the future claimant for the same. So if at all you could, establish your own values of what is right and wrong, what is ethical and what is unethical, what is to be done and what is not to be done, I think everybody will definitely come to a proper judgment. Because you are provided with so many resources around. And the use of resources and the research outputs and the scientific misconduct that some people are doing, okay, that actually led to the domain of regulation of research. See here, all these things are well connected. Okay. If you yourself is very ethical, but do you think that the others are equally ethical like you, as you are? No, not essential. Because being trustworthy, being honest is the quality of an individual, and not essential that everybody will carry this kind of values in life. So while doing research, you need to remember one thing, that our research activities are nowadays governed by some external forces, like the law of the land. Every country has its own IPR called Intellectual Property Rights Act, and similarly at international front also international laws and bylaws are there, and that actually govern our research activity. Because research ethics govern the standard code of conduct for researchers. Every researcher is supposed to be familiar with the standard code of conduct which is expected from a researcher. It is immaterial whether you are doing research in social sciences or languages or humanities or the field of science and technology or pharmacy and so on and so on. That is immaterial. The material fact is every researcher is supposed to be very, very keen as far as the standard code of conduct for researchers is concerned. If you could adhere to all these ethical principles, what will happen? You will protect your own dignity, rights, and welfare of your own research. At the same time, you will also protect the dignity, intellectual property rights, and the welfare of the research participants. And more importantly, I would like to say, if at all you are going to refer to some other people, those who have done remarkable research in that particular domain, in that particular area of study, and if at all you happen to refer to, give them certain credits, automatically you are also protecting their dignity, their rights, and the welfare of all the researchers, those who are doing research in different fields, right? So this is what you call research ethics in general. But beyond that, there are a few more points that I would like to add on. Because research ethics are the personal codes of conduct, mind it well. It is totally depending on an individual. If I am doing some research, I should question myself whether I am genuine to myself or not, whether I am trustworthy to myself or not, whether I am honest to myself or not. When I am genuine, when I am honest, when I am dedicated for it, of course I will put my 100% in order to do some research, and that research will be mine own. Okay? So ethics are the personal codes of conduct based on the respect for oneself, and similarly you also respect others and the entire surrounding that you get. See, already I said ethics is a kind of term that falls to the category of philosophy, because ethics are governed by the principles or assumptions underpinning the ways individuals or the organizations ought to conduct themselves. See, every individual has his or her own values. Okay? It may be your cultural values, your personal values, your personal ethical values. It can be your own entire lifestyle, whatever it may be. Similarly, every organization has its culture called working culture. How do you work within the organization? And how does the organization function? Okay. So when you look at all these values, you will realize that each organization has its own culture called a working culture. Similarly, every individual also has some or the other values and the set of values that you follow in your own life based on your own logic, conjecture, acceptance, assumptions, so on and so on. But here you need to remember one thing, that the ethical considerations in research are actually a set of principles that guide your research designs and research practices. Right? See here, the point is very clear. The kind of research that you execute, that is governed by some ethical considerations in the field of research. And you have a set of principles that guide your research design, that guide your own research, that guide your research practices. And that's the reason that we call research ethics actually involve the application of fundamental ethical principles to research activities, whatever research activities that you execute from your end as a researcher, and that include the design and implementation of research, respect towards the researchers, respect towards the society, respect towards others' contribution, and the use of resources, and the kind of research outputs, research misconduct, research conduct, and the regulation of research. Everything is straight away associated to. You cannot simply dissociate it. Okay? So you need to remember one thing, that it is all depend on the mindset of an individual, that how ethical you are. First of all, question yourself how ethical you are in the respect of doing research. Let us try to understand now what are the goals of ethics in the domain of research. Because without an objective, without a goal, without an aim, we don't proceed anything. And more particularly, when you think about doing research, you have to have certain aims, objectives, and goals to achieve. So whenever we talk about the goal of ethics in research, to guide the researcher in order to evaluate his own research, I would suggest you to question yourself as per the following questions which are enlisted on the screen now. Every researcher, whether you are just developing a research paper, or else you have undertaken the research project, or else you are doing PhD level research, whatever it may be, do question yourself as follows. Number one, okay, I mean to say I am addressing to the researchers. What are they researching? Means, what exactly the researcher is going to research? Number two, why are they researching? You find some researchers there. They have executed some research. They already began with the research activity. The question is, why are they researching? What is the objective behind it? What is the aim behind it? Right? Then, are they testing the subject in the best way? Question yourself. If at all, you have already decided your domain of study, you have already set your own goal, you have already defined your hypothesis. Now, you will think of testing your hypothesis. Right? So now question yourself. I mean, I am questioning to the researchers. Are they testing the subject in the best way? The methodology that you adopted, the kind of testing parameters that you have, the kind of approach that you adopted, whether it is going to be a scientific one or not, whether it is going to be a very pragmatic one or not, we need to always think about it. Similarly, Are they following the proper protocol? Mind it well, every research needs a protocol to be followed. Okay. Whether it is at a small level or at a large level, whatever research that you are doing, you have to follow the scientific protocol as suggested at international level. Then only your research will be acknowledged as a genuine one. Then again question yourself, is the study in the best interest of the society? Now the question is, whatever research that we do, you know what happens unfortunately? It becomes just a piece of book or one of the books in the library and to be fixed in one of the racks somewhere, and it is not at all going to be used for the betterment of the society, for the interest of the society. Because most of the research which is done in India and abroad as well, okay, we do it for the sake of the library, but not for the sake of society. Now we need to think of whatever that you are doing, the research activity that you have undertaken, is it going to be in the interest of the society? Whether it will be useful to the society or not, or is it just limited for myself in order to get a degree or in order to get a certificate? We need to question this. And then also question yourself, are the rights of the subject being protected? What I mean to say in this respect, I am talking about the intellectual property rights of an individual. Whosoever contributed in the beginning, he has to be given the credit. Right? Don't ever claim which is done by somebody else. So if at all you are keen about all these goals, then only you can say the goal of ethic in research is going to be managed and maintained by you properly, and you really mean for it. Now let us move further. The most important thing that I want to talk today is this, and we need to be very, very careful about it. The US National Science Foundation has defined 3 types of misconduct which is done by the researcher not only in the United States of America but across the world. Across the world, I say. Maybe the cases in US now may be less, but of course they are there. And the cases in the third world countries are more, because the cases are also less. Okay. Because registered cases in the floor of the court, I mean to say that. So here, the US National Science Foundation has defined the types of misconduct in 3 different categories. Number 1, they talked about, or the foundation talked about, fabrication in research. Number 2, falsification in research. Number 3, plagiarism in research. So here, you need to understand one thing, that whenever you talk about fabrication is nothing but making up the data or results just for the purpose of the specific research that you have undertaken, and you are fabricating it. So please never get into any kind of making up of the data and making up of the results. If at all you are indulged into this kind of research activity where you are fabricating the data and fabricating the research, it means you are violating the rules and regulations of research. It means you are not ethical as far as your own research activity is concerned. Point number 2. Please make a note of it. Falsification. What do you mean by falsification? Falsification means manipulating research material. See here. Manipulating research material. Manipulating the entire process of doing research with the help of equipments. Manipulating the results also that you draw with the help of equipments. Similarly, changing or omitting the data, either from the collected original data or else you omit the elements from the results that you want, the expected results, and you are managing all these results. If at all you are indulged into all these activities, mind it well, they are the violations of intellectual property rights of all the countries in the world today. Because after the process of LPG, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization, since most of the countries in the world have accepted that GATT Prastav, called WTO now, World Trade Organization, okay, proposal. So we are bound to follow the national and international rules and regulations related to intellectual property rights. So here the minimum expectation from every researcher is protect your own rights, equally protect the intellectual rights of others. Okay? As you want your rights to be protected, why don't you think that others also want that their rights should equally be protected? So on this line you need to think of and then only execute the type of research that you are doing. So here one point is very clear, that the falsification means manipulating research material, manipulating equipments, manipulating the process, manipulating or changing or omitting the data and results as the research is not accurately represented in the research record. When you are falsifying the research record, it means you are definitely violating the rules of intellectual property rights. Then you have the last but not the least, the most important of these three, that is plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own, either with or without their consent, by incorporating it into your own work without full acknowledgement to the real contributor. If at all you are falling into this, mind it well, you are going to ruin your own professional and research life. Okay, never do that. If something is yours, always claim that it is yours. If you do not belong to it, if it is not your own, it is not your real creative, innovative contribution, never claim that it is yours. Okay, today you cannot say that E is equal to mc square is invented by me or introduced by me, highly impossible. Or the theory of relativity suggested by Einstein cannot be claimed by anyone, because these are the copyrights of an individual. Okay, so here you need to be very, very careful that whatever that you execute in your life in the research point of view, you are not going to be the victim of fabrication, falsification and plagiarism. If at all you violate all these ethical parameters, mind it well, one day you will be either penalized for doing plagiarism or else you will be behind the bar, okay, and as per the court of the law of the particular country. So one thing I would like to note over here, that plagiarism may be that you are doing intentionally or unintentionally, whatever it may be, but it is fundamentally unethical. So never follow these things in life. You need to be very careful. The message of the day. What is intellectual honesty? Suppose you decided that, like, I am not going to fabricate, I am not going to falsify the content, and I am not going to plagiarize anything. It means you are thinking on the right line. It means you are thinking about honesty. I always say, honesty is the best policy. And I would like to add on one more thing from my end, that our moral duty is to be honest. Shall I tell you one thing? If you are honest to yourself, automatically you are honest to the whole world around. Okay? And that's why honesty is the best policy, whether you are living your personal life, professional life, social life, and more particularly your research life. I mean to say, professionally, you are undertaking some research, be honest over there also. So intellectual honesty in proposing, performing and reporting research which actually refer to honesty with respect to the meaning of one's research. You may not be able to contribute so many at a time in a year. Okay, let us go for only 2 research papers in a year. It is more than enough. But ensure that you are intellectually honest to yourself and you are intellectually honest to your own research that you have undertaken and completed. Right from proposing the research, performing on the research, reporting the research, ensure that you are honest in all these 3 stages of research, and then only you will be even equally answerable to yourself and to your supervisor as well. So intellectual honesty is expected, okay, in this particular domain I mean to say. It is expected that every researcher present proposals and the data collected honestly. It should be your own proposal, it should be your own data collection, it should be your own interpretation and analysis, and do it honestly. Never fabricate, never falsify, never plagiarize. Then only you can say that whatever research that you have done is honestly done research, and then try to communicate their best understanding of the work in written and verbal forms. Right? See, when you know that you have done it, right, you need not be afraid of anybody else, because you are truthful to yourself, loyal to yourself, honest to yourself, and equally contributing the same for your own research as well. So, intellectual honesty is honesty in acquisition, right? Try to understand this phrase. Intellectual honesty is honesty in the acquisition, honesty in analysis, honesty in interpretation, honesty in transmission also. If at all you follow this value called intellectual honesty right in your own research, you will realize that right from acquisition till the last step of transmission of ideas on a piece of paper and publication, you will prove to be honest, you will prove to be loyal. So a person is being intellectually honest when he or she shows the truth in the respect of the research, states the same truth in the research, and then remain to be truthful to the self and for the sake of the research. Then only you can claim that yes, you are intellectually honest. Now, let us move further, because these are the very important values as far as research and publication ethics are concerned. Here you have the research integrity. Now question yourself how committed you are, how dedicated you are, how honest you are for your own profession, for your own dutifulness, and equally for the research activities that you execute in your life, in your professional life, I mean to say. Okay. So research integrity means conducting research in such a way that allows others to have confidence and trust in the methods and the findings of the research. See, your supervisor knows how loyal you are, how honest you are, how truthful you are, how much is the density of your research integrity. He knows better, because it's very difficult to win the vote of trust of your supervisor. If at all you are doing your PhD level research, you know what you should do first? First of all, try to win the vote of trust of your supervisor. Then you see he will also have a lot of confidence in you, and whatever methods, whatever findings that you bring in front of him, he will be always obliging to. Because research integrity relates both to the scientific integrity of conducted research and to the professional integrity of the researcher. See here how the action takes place. Okay. So it relates actually both to the scientific integrity and the professional integrity. See, shall I tell you one thing? If you show integrity for yourself, for your family, for your society, for your community, for your country, automatically you will be professionally likewise. Okay. So here, when you are a researcher, you are supposed to show your own, ethical values in the respect of scientific integrity and in the respect of professional integrity. Automatically, you will prove to be a very good researcher. Now, here, try to understand what are you supposed to do as far as ethics are concerned, that too in the respect of research. There are 11 ethical principles that you need to adhere in your personal, professional research life. What are they? Never forget all these 11 fundamental principles. Number 1, your duty to society. Aristotle has defined man as a social animal. Man in the sense human beings, all men and women. We are the social animals and we cannot live alone. If at all we live, either we are gods or demons. We are the integral part of a society. We cannot live alone at all. We need to be in the company of men and women around. So as you are the integral part of a society, so always be dutiful towards the society. Okay. Similarly, think of beneficence. Think of conflict of interest. Okay. If at all many are involved in the process of research, ensure that everybody's interests are protected. Similarly, also be sure about the intellectual rights of others. If at all you use the content or something innovative or creative suggested or provided by others, ensure that you are acknowledging them. Show your integrity, research integrity at that time. And if at all you are doing some research, always keep informing to the stakeholders. Stakeholders in the sense, if you are collecting some data from some respondents, inform them that the data collected will be processed, interpreted, and later on it will be published. But the confidentiality, research confidentiality will be maintained. Okay, that is called informed consent. Or else if you are using some quotations from some author or scientist, inform them that so and so content you are going to directly use in your research paper, so that the person will feel pleased that yes, you have informed them before using it. Similarly, always be non-discriminating. Discrimination leads to problem. And if at all you are always non-discriminative, it means you are minimizing your problems in research. Okay, never discriminate. Okay, and don't be exploitative also. Means have an approach which is called non-exploitation approach. If you exploit somebody, mind it well, the counterpart will think of retaliation, right? Similarly, you need to be very careful about the intellectual rights of others. Okay, so be non-discriminative and be non-exploitative in this respect also, because there are some people like they may provide you a lot of money and your intellectual properties are being hijacked by somebody else. Okay, something very creative, very innovative, something genuinely from your side, never disclose in front of many. Okay, unless you work on it, unless you register your patent, or else unless you publish your research, never disclose the very, very crucial, important, innovative, creative ideas to anybody. Okay, that kind of confidentiality you are supposed to maintain. So maintain privacy, maintain confidentiality, and always prove your professional competence. What is professional competence? Whichever profession you are into, okay, ensure that you are the most suitable person for it. If you are a teacher, you should be good at speaking, you should be good at convincing, okay. You should have to maintain that particular expected professional decorum by enhancing your competence of learning, competence of teaching, competence of disseminating knowledge, competence of evaluation, so on and so on. So that is called professional competence. If you are a lawyer, you are supposed to be very effective in the floor of the court in order to convince the judge for your own arguments and points. If you are an engineer, ensure that you are having a very scientific and a pragmatic approach to look at all these aspects happening around and using applications for the betterment of the society and the world. That is professional competence. Similarly, I discussed about the honesty as the best policy, but you have to have the professional discipline also. So while executing any research or else while working for an organization, whether it is national organization, international organization, multinational organization, whatever it may be, you have to have your own discipline called professional discipline. So these are the 11 ethics, okay, that you are supposed to adhere throughout your lifetime. Now, let us move further with one more important point over here. That is the ethics with respect to research publication. Okay, earlier I talked about research. Now I am talking about publication. See, as far as ethical principles of research are concerned, there are many, as I discussed. Integrity, competence, okay, then justice, dignity, beneficence, responsibility, honesty, so on and so on. But here, there are a few more ethical principles, 11 ethical principles that I am supposed to deliver here now in front of you all. So here I was talking about the 11 ethical principles. What are these principles that you need to follow in your entire career as a researcher? First of all, follow intellectual property rights of your country, and similarly be cautious about the international laws in this respect. Show your generosity while executing research in the field of humanities and in the field of social sciences also. Okay, right? Similarly, you are supposed to be generous as far as your research in science and technology is concerned. Never create the conflict of interest. If you protect your own interest, equally try to protect the interest of others also, like those who are the stakeholders of your research. Already I talked about the informed consent, integrity, non-discrimination, so on and so on. So ensure that all these things you are going to follow in your personal career, in your personal life, and this is going to give you a vote of trust about yourself as a researcher. Now here I would like to talk about two more important things, because we are talking about publication ethics and research ethics as well. I hope some of you might have heard about Romeo. Of course, I am not talking about Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, or I am not talking about Sherpa also, okay, who reached over there at Mount Everest and all that. Here I have some other ideas that I would like to discuss with you all. So when we talk about Sherpa, actually Sherpa is a kind of online resource that aggregate and analyze publisher open access policies from around the world, and it provides summaries of self-achieving permissions and conditions of rights, of course intellectual property rights, given to authors either on a journal by journal basis or book by book basis. See here, it's an important platform, it's an important resource available at the disposal of every researcher, right? So just ensure how best you can utilize it for that. Similarly, you have the another digital service or online service available called Romeo. Okay, Romeo is the kind of service that has collaborative relationship with so many international partners scattered across the world. Almost in every country they have their partners. And what do? They contribute time and effort in order to develop and maintain the services. So this Sherpa and Romeo, both the services can be availed for ensuring the proper adherence of intellectual property rights and other important aspects related to research as well. And then you have One more very good platform which is made available over here in India. I hope all of you are familiar with UGC care listed journals, or you usually talk about the Scopus listed journals. You have peer reviewed journals, you have refereed journals, different types of journals and their identities found. But here I would like to let you know that there are so many predatory journals working in our country and they are also working abroad. Be careful and cautious about predatory journals. Okay? Predatory means what? If at all you have one journal which is run by your own college or university or an institution, and that has become very reputed in the course of that. It is enlisted in the UGC care, or else it is treated as the Scopus enlisted journal. Likewise, you got the reputation. What happens with the same name, with the same ISSN number? Somebody opens a website, somebody opens a platform by using your credentials. They do the business, and so many of us, many faculty members, many researchers are prone to it. They become the victim of this system. Very recently, I would like to give one of my personal examples in this respect. Recently, I received one thesis, PhD level thesis, from Department of English of a university in our country. And they have the regulation as per the 2009 regulations. They were supposed to attach the published articles along with the thesis at the end of the thesis. So usually I cross-check everything before making the proper assessment or the adjudication of that particular thesis. When I went through and I checked one of the articles there, and I was cross-verifying whether it is properly published in the particular designated journal or not. And for your kind information, I came to know that it was not published by the original publication as it was claimed. It was published by a predatory journal. So immediately I put a note over there in my assessment that this particular paper is not published by the genuine publisher or the publication house, but this paper has been published in the predatory journal, which is not accepted and approved by UGC or by any university in the country. Then what to do? It's a very big problem for all of us to identify the genuineness of a publisher. Then you just go for this. SPPU means Savitribai Phule University in Pune. That has appointed a committee to look after the issues related to the predatory journals. But unfortunately, all these committees or UGC have no powers to control such predatory journals. There are so many which are working under the same name and same ISSN number. So a recent analysis of who is publishing in research spurious journals has indicated that most authors in predatory journals are from either developing countries, especially from India, Nigeria, and some South African and Middle East countries. So this is the problem that we are facing now. So my humble request to all of you to be very cautious about the predatory journals. Ensure whether you are approaching to the right publisher for the publication of your research. So it is a problematic academic publishing mechanism that involves charging huge publication fees to the writers without properly checking articles for quality and legitimacy, and without providing the other editorial and publishing services that standard and legitimate journals provide. See here, it's a contradiction, because they are here to make money. They are here to make money. They don't check your document, they don't quality check the research, they don't check the legitimacy. Simply they publish it once you pay the fee. And they say also, your paper will be accepted in 24 hours. And then your paper will be published in another 2 to 3 days. Once you make the payment, paper is being published. You never get a doubt about such kind of publishers, if at all they are doing in 24 hours, or if they are doing in 1 week or like that. So please be aware of such kind of publishers and never publish your research over here in this way. Now, one more platform is there, that is JANE. JANE. A free online bibliographic journal selection tool. You can use UGC Care List also, as I suggested, SPPU, right? Or else you can go for JANE. This JANE is standing for the Journal Author Name Estimator, JANE. J stands for journal, A stands for author, N stands for name, and E stands for estimator. That is called JANE. Is a free online bibliographic journal selection tool. You can select your journal from this particular platform also. The journal selection tools, of course, they are also known as journal matching or journal comparison tools. Okay, they are popular resources that help authors determine the most appropriate journals in the Scopus list, or else the journals which are highly meritorious as far as their worldwide acceptance is concerned. So JANE is one of the earliest journal selection tools, and that began almost in 2007 or so, and since then they are working in this particular field. So you have the resources which are of course web based and allows users to provide input keywords, abstracts, text or author names. Based on certain parameters you can verify all these things and you can get into action. So at the time of this writing, please be flexible. No formal mobile app or browser extension has been developed by these resources. You have to log on to the respective website only, or else you may find some sort of falsified mobile apps which are created by the same name, and you again fall victim to all these. So there is an application program called a kind of interface called API, okay, application programming interface, freely available in beta version, that is available to the users who want to integrate JANE into their own applications. Okay, all these things are there. Just go to the website and find out how all these modalities are, and then you try to use it for your personal purpose also. But please be sure that you are not going to publish your articles or research in predatory journals at all conditions. Approach to the genuine publisher, whether they are UGC Care listed. Already UGC Care list has been removed by Government of India and more particularly UGC also. But still, if at all you want to maintain a standard of publication, go to the Scopus journals only. But before you approach any journal, ensure whether they are the genuine publishers or not. Then here I would like to suggest you all, because we have been talking about what is research, what is publication, what is ethics. Later on we talked about how to integrate all these things into our personal professional life, especially research life. And then here I would like to suggest you all that please be ethical, avoid plagiarism, and unless you are really very ethical and you avoid plagiarism, your research will never be treated as a standard research. And if at all you are doing it for yourself, always be honest to yourself, honest to your research. And finally I say, be ethical, avoid plagiarism. Honesty is the best policy. In order to develop this particular presentation, I happen to refer to some books, and apart from that I happen to refer to some of the websites also which are used for the purpose of developing this particular presentation today. So with this note, I come to a conclusion of my presentation. Thank you very much.